March 31st, 1995. A routine flight from Bucharest to Brussels, 60 souls on board. Just 89 seconds after takeoff, disaster struck. What caused an advanced Airbus A310, flown by experienced pilots, to spiral out of control and crash into the Romanian countryside? Was it a mechanical failure, human error, or something far more tragic? This is the story of TAROM Flight 371, Romania's most painful aviation disaster. A story of mechanical anomalies, split-second decisions, and the thin line between life and catastrophe. TAROM Flight 371 was an international passenger flight operated by TAROM. On March 31, 1995, the flight was scheduled to operate between Otopeni International Airport in Bucharest, Romania, and Brussels Airport in Brussels, Belgium. The tragic crash of the Airbus A310 just moments after takeoff would go down in history as one of the most horrible aviation disasters ever recorded in Romania. This catastrophe was the result of a complex chain of events involving human factors, technical malfunctions, and systemic challenges in aviation training and operations during a transformative era for Eastern European aviation. To fully grasp the tragedy, it's essential to explore the context of the flight, the critical moments leading to the crash, the findings of the subsequent investigation, and the lessons learned. The 90s were a transformative decade for Romania and its aviation industry. After the fall of communism in 1989, Romania began transitioning towards a market economy, which included the modernization of its aviation infrastructure. For decades, TAROM had relied heavily on Soviet-designed aircraft like Tupolev 154 and Ilyushin 62. These aircraft used older technologies, including instruments such as attitude direction indicator, which worked in the opposite manner of Western-designed indicators. As Romania opened up to the world, TAROM began acquiring Western-built aircraft, including the Airbus A310. These aircraft featured advanced technology, but also presented challenges for pilots who were transitioning from Soviet designs. Captain Liviu Betenui, aged 48, was an experienced and highly respected pilot. With 14,312 total flight hours, including 1,735 hours on the Airbus A310, he was one of TAROM's most seasoned captains. His extensive career spanned a variety of aircraft types, and he was well versed in both Soviet and Western aviation practices. On the day of the flight, he was serving as the pilot monitoring, overseeing the flight, while his first officer was in command of the controls. First officer Ionel Stoi, aged 51, was also an experienced aviator with almost 9,000 total flight hours. However, he was relatively new to the Airbus A310, having logged only 650 hours on the type. Most of his career had been spent flying Soviet-built aircraft, which presented a challenge when transitioning to Western systems. The Airbus A310 was the first aircraft he had flown with a Western-style attitude direction indicator. Unlike Soviet indicators, which moved opposite to the direction of the aircraft bank, Western indicators moved in the same direction as the bank. TAROM Flight 371 was scheduled to depart at 9 AM local time for a routine flight to Brussels. The Airbus A310 had been prepared and fueled for the journey, and the 49 passengers, along with the 11 crew members, boarded without incident. The flight included a mix of business travelers, tourists, and expatriates returning home. The crew was aware of a non-mechanical issue with the aircraft throttle system. Specifically, there was an intermittent problem where one of the thrust levers would unexpectedly move to idle. This issue had been documented in the aircraft's maintenance log and was considered manageable. To mitigate any potential risks, Captain Betenui decided he would guard the throttle levers during the critical climb phase. At 9 hours 6 minutes and 44 seconds local time, TAROM Flight 371 took off from runway 08R at Otopeni International Airport. The weather was overcast with thick cloud cover obscuring the horizon, but conditions were otherwise favorable for the flight. First Officer Stoi was designated as the pilot flying, while Captain Betenui served as the pilot monitoring. The takeoff was smooth and the aircraft began its initial climb as it ascended through the cloud layer. However, the flight quickly took a catastrophic turn. As the aircraft climbed, First Officer Stoi requested that Captain Betenui retract the flaps and slats. While the captain successfully retracted the flaps, he failed to retract the slats. This minor error prompted Stoi to ask what was wrong. At this moment, Captain Betenui reported feeling unwell. This sudden medical emergency left First Officer Stoy as the sole pilot in control of the aircraft. Compounding the emergency, the left engine's thrust lever unexpectedly moved to idle, resulting in a significant thrust asymmetry. The right engine remained at climb power, causing the aircraft to bank sharply to the left. This asymmetry thrust also led to a decrease in airspeed, further destabilizing the aircraft. Distracted by the captain's incapacitation, Stoy failed to notice the leftward bank or the decrease in airspeed. The thick cloud cover prevented him from using visual references, leaving him reliant on the instruments. Unfortunately, his unfamiliarity with the Western-style attitude direction indicator hindered his ability to correctly interpret the aircraft's attitude. Unlike Soviet attitude direction indicators, the Western indicators move in the same direction as the bank, a fact that likely confused Stoy in the high-stress situation. By 9 hours, 8 minutes and 18 seconds, the aircraft had reached a critical left bank angle of 45.09 degrees. Stoy attempted to engage the autopilot, but it disengaged almost immediately, triggering an oral warning. As the aircraft entered a steep descent, Stoy misinterpreted the engine indications, believing the left engine had failed completely. He failed to recognize the need to correct the asymmetric thrust condition. The aircraft continued its uncontrolled spiral descent, reaching a nose-down pitch angle of -61.5 degrees. At 9 hours, 8 minutes and 34 seconds, just 89 seconds after takeoff, the Airbus A310 crashed into a field near Balotești, Romania at the speed of 737 miles per hour. The impact created a 20-foot crater and obliterated the aircraft. Realizing that communication with Flight 371 had been lost, Bucharest Air Traffic Control declared a distress phase and coordinated a search for the aircraft. Rescue teams quickly located the crash site, where they found a scene of total devastation. The aircraft had disintegrated on impact, leaving no survivors. In March 1995, a criminal investigation was started by the prosecutor's office attached to the Bucharest tribunal with the objective of establishing the circumstances of the air crash. In 1997, the case was transferred from the prosecutor's office attached to the Bucharest tribunal to prosecutor's office attached to the Bucharest Court of Appeal because of lack of legal competence. Since then, the case remains unsolved, and in 2008, at the request of Prosecutor General Laura Condruta-Covaci, it has been revealed that the case files are completely missing. The tragedy of TAROM Flight 371 underscored the importance of comprehensive training for pilots transitioning between different aircraft systems. It also highlighted the need for robust medical evaluations for flight crews and immediate rectification of known mechanical issues. This accident served as a wake-up call for TAROM and other airlines operating in transitional environments, ultimately leading to improvement in pilot training, maintenance practices, and aviation safety standards worldwide.